Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Welcome into the Pack a Day podcast. My name is Andy Herman. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join me on this Saturday or whenever you may be listening to this. I always appreciate it. If you have not taken the time to subscribe already, please make sure to do so. It helps me out a ton. It only takes a couple seconds just to click that subscribe button. And again, I greatly appreciate it. But enough about that. Let's go into our main topic today. And that is going to be 5 players that I think have the opportunity to become stars in 2021. And what do I mean here? So there's a couple ways, in my opinion, that you can build a Super Bowl roster. The first, I think, is generally the best way, and that's having a group of just incredibly talented individuals who really kind of carry your roster into a Super Bowl. To some extent, the 96 Packers had this, right? Now, they had a really sound overall team, but the top of the top was really good, whether it be Leroy Butler, Reggie White, Brett Favre, like that. The stars on that team, and obviously I'm not naming all of them here, but the stars on that team were incredible. And that's what really brought that team to the next level. The 2011 Packers, similarly in some ways, right? Whether you talk about Aaron Rodgers, whether you talk about Charles Woodson, Clay Matthews, Nick Collins, like the top of the top was insanely good. Those elite level players bring you to the next level. The other way is generally just have no weaknesses and have really good players throughout your roster. And while Tampa Bay last year definitely had some top tier talent, I tend to view this as a little bit more like the Tampa Bay team that we saw last year. Yeah, Tom Brady, still fantastic, but maybe not the elite player that he once was. Like Mike Evans, really good, but we're not talking about top 5 player here. Same thing with Chris Godwin. Like same thing with a lot of their team. Really good players, but not necessarily the elite of the elite of the elite. You're not seeing those top 3 players that are just like so above and beyond everyone else. Kansas City's the opposite, right? A couple years ago, that is a team based almost entirely off of Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Honey Badger, Chris Jones, and then you fill out the rest everywhere else. That's why that Super Bowl last year was so intriguing. You've got the handful of elite talent versus just this really good, sound overall roster. And to me, one of those 2 ways is the way that you really have to build a team if you want to be Super Bowl competitive. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the best way to go about it is have as many stars as you can. And Green Bay's in a pretty good situation, which is why they've been so, good over the course of the last couple seasons. Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, David Bakhtiari, Kenny Clark, Zadarius Smith, Jair Alexander. Those are some really impressive players that for the most part of the last couple seasons have played at a very high level. And those are players that have the ability to kind of carry your team and have you be a potential Super Bowl contender, which while they didn't get to the Super Bowl, you can certainly call Green Bay a contender for that title over the course of the last couple seasons. So they have that, but now it's starting to develop that next phase of potential stars on this team. Those next guys who can bring up the mantle and be the guys that hopefully take you into the future and can be guys that also are helping you win Super Bowls. Now, everyone's going to hope that Jordan Love is the case. I'm not going to discuss him today because we simply don't know enough. To say that this upcoming season, Jordan Love is ready to break out and be a star, I think would be probably a little bit much at this point. But I do have 5 players that I think are on the cusp of potentially breaking out and being a star player in this league. Now, there's variance here in the degrees of how likely they are to become a star, but I think all 5 of these players have the potential. So let me start with number 1. And when I say a star player, you may not immediately jump to interior offensive linemen, right? You may think of playmakers, whether it be on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. But Elton Jenkins, to me, is on the cusp of becoming a star in this league as an offensive lineman. And you might make the argument and say, but Andy, Elton Jenkins is already a star in this league. What he can do from a versatility standpoint is unheard of and unquestionably amazing. And I agree with you on that. And I do think that and I want to start by saying this, if Elton Jenkins doesn't get a lick better at playing football through the remainder of his career, and he continues to be good at exactly how he's been doing it the last couple seasons, and continues to have the versatility to play really good football at 5 positions along the offensive line, that is an incredibly talented and valuable player on your roster. And maybe you can argue that that's already a star type player. However, what I will say is that, in my opinion, Elton Jenkins has the ceiling to become an all-time great on the interior of the offensive line. I'm talking Alan Faneca, Steve Hutchinson, those type of players, Jari Evans, like in their prime. Like that's the type of player that I think Elton Jenkins can become. And while Elton Jenkins has played well at every position that he's played at in the NFL, which is an insanely amazing feat, I don't believe at this point that he's played at the all-pro level that maybe some people have thought he has at any given position, primarily the left guard position where he spent the majority of his time. He's been good there, no question. He's been really good and bordering on great. But I don't put him quite in that great stratosphere yet, and I certainly don't put him at the elite stratosphere yet. Now, again, we can make a whole argument of would you rather have an elite guard who is only a guard or a great lineman who can play all 5 positions? I will easily listen to your argument that you'd rather have the really good to great player who can play all 5 positions, just because it's so unheard of and so valuable. But if you want to talk about truly being an elite player, you've got to be elite at the position that you're at. And right now, I don't think Elton Jenkins is there quite yet. Do I think he's going to become that? I do. Do I think he can become that? Absolutely. But I don't think he's there quite yet. So again, Elton Jenkins is a phenomenally talented player, and I think the world of him overall. But I do think he still has room for growth. Go back and watch that Tampa Bay game from a season ago, and there are a lot of holes in his game that he still has to correct. In fact, towards the end of last season, there was a little bit of a fall off in Elton Jenkins' play. Could it have been a couple bad games? It absolutely could have, but you want to see that elite level consistency. And again, I'm more saying this because I think he has the ability to reach that ceiling, and I think that he's right on the cusp of it. So number 1 on my list is Elton Jenkins, and I think he has that ability to be and play at an elite level for a 17-game regular season and beyond because he's that darn good, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to be able to do this upcoming year. Number 2 on my list, and I can hear your eyes rolling as I'm about to say this name already, but is Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And here's what I'll say. I don't say this lightly, and if you can not trust, but believe me when I say this, I've been one of the last people to come around on MVS or have any sort of level of trust or faith in MVS's overall level of play. I've really enjoyed him as a player. I don't think the valleys have been quite as low as people think. But the first 2 seasons he had in the league, I was very insanely skeptical. Even in training camp last year, where I thought he put amazing training camp together, I remained incredibly skeptical. Even throughout the course of last season, when he put some good stuff on tape, had the blunders against the Colts, the dropped deep passes, things like that, I remained skeptical. But as I went back and watched more MVS, I really do believe he is so incredibly close to becoming a star. And I don't know that it's ever going to happen, and I'll be totally transparent. Maybe I put the odds at 10, 15%, maybe 20. I don't necessarily know that it's insanely likely, but he is so close to becoming just that. And you think back at some of these players. Zadarius Smith, his first few years as a Baltimore Raven were mostly fine. Jair Alexander, his first year was good, but he had work to do. David Bakhtiari, same way. Devontae Adams, we know the same way. Aaron Jones didn't play that much his first couple seasons, certainly that first season, right? Aaron Rodgers had, a few seasons where he had to really pick up things and figure things out before he was ready to go as a starter. Like almost every one of these Packers stars had their bumps along the way. And I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling has had those bumps in the road. And I've seen signs that he's ready to turn that around, turn the corner, and learn from those mistakes and be literally great. And if I ask you and say, what's the reason why you think MVS can't be great? You say, well, he's had too many drops and too many opportunities that he hasn't made the most of. Yeah, but why is that? Is it because he's not fast enough? No. Is it because he's not big enough or strong enough? No. Is it because of anything he's doing from a technique standpoint? No. Can he get in and out of his routes well? Yeah. Does he have strong hands? Yeah. And you might be saying, well, if he has strong hands, why is he dropping so? It's concentration and confidence. And that might not be anything that he ever overcomes. But I've seen him grow in every other facet of his game. And I saw flashes last year of that confidence coming around. And if that's the last thing that clicks is that confidence, and that's the last thing it takes, and he starts stringing together good games, that's it. That's the only thing that he's missing. He has everything else that you would want as a potential star wide receiver in this league. So I still think, again, how likely it is, who knows, but I think he has that potential. Number 3 on the list is A.J. Dillon. And I've saw enough out of him, even in limited playing time last year, to see that he has everything that you would want out of a bell cow running back. And if I told you that, and we don't want this to happen, we're certainly not speaking it into existence, but that Aaron Jones went down with an injury prior to the season, if I told you that A.J. Dillon had 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns with another couple hundred yards receiving, would it surprise you in any way, shape, or form? Because it certainly would not surprise me. He has the ability to be that type of player. And I think right now it just comes down to getting playing time and getting him more ingrained in the offense. And once he does that, I think the sky's the limit as far as, just how many yards he can run for, how many tackles he can break, and how big of a threat he can be. I think he's going to continue to grow as a receiving weapon, and I'm just really excited about his future in Green Bay. Obviously, he's tied to Aaron Jones, and those two are tethered together for the next couple seasons, but if something happens and he has the ability to be the breakout guy, I fully believe that he will take the most of that opportunity. Number 4 on the list is Darnell Savage, and it's really funny because 2 years ago, everyone was gaga over Darnell Savage, and I was like, pull it back a little bit. You go and watch Darnell Savage closely in 2019. There were plenty of mistakes on tape. Poor angles, some poor tackling, wasn't always in the right spot at the right time, doing a little bit too much thinking and not reacting. But at the same token, everyone was in love. They're like, Darnell Savage is the best. And then last season, for a chunk of last season, everyone was like, almost down on Darnell Savage for a period of time. And I was the opposite. I was like, hold on, he's actually playing some pretty good football right now. So it's been kind of this weird juxtaposition, but he's close and he's not there yet. And I am really interested to see how Joe Barry uses him in this defense. And I think with the right defense and the right mindset and just one more year in the league, I think he has the ability to be a breakout star. You see some of the things that he's able to anticipate from as early as his rookie season and make a break on a ball. Like, he's going to start piling up interceptions sooner rather than later. I really feel that way. And if all of a sudden you start piling up 5, 6, 7 interceptions and being a turnover player, providing good coverage and solid overall, just safety ability on the back end, making sure you're not giving up big plays, you all of a sudden turn into a pretty big time player on the back end of a given defense. And I think Darnell Savage has the ability to be that. Now, he still is somebody that I want reacting more than I want thinking. I'm really interested to see, again, how he's going to work in this defense. I think he pairs very well with Adrian Amos. And overall, very excited about the potential of Darnell Savage. But I do still think there's a couple steps that he has to take. But I think this year could be the year that he takes them. And then last but not least is Rashawn Gary. And when I go back to training camp a season ago, when I was looking at players who could potentially be that next breakout star, the person that really screamed off the field was Rashawn Gary. And we saw steps towards that a season ago. We didn't see him get there, but we saw his trajectory continue on the way up. We saw a pretty nondescript, rookie year, a more impressive sophomore year, and now you're just hoping that takes that next step up and it starts growing exponentially because he has the talent, he has the physical traits, he has the ability, he has the hustle, he has the want to, he has the desire. Like, he has everything. And now it's just putting the entire package together and not being a potential player, being the guy, being somebody who can get 10, 15, and who cares about sacks, who can get a ton of pressures on the quarterback, who can force fumbles, who can make game-changing plays, who can get in the backfield and stop running backs from gaining momentum. He has the ability to do all those things. He already sets a very clean edge as a defender. And last year what we saw is him trying to be less of a speed rusher, more of a power rusher, converting speed to power. And now, if he can start putting that pass rush plan together, you're going to see his game start again to grow exponentially. I really want this to be the year for Rashawn Gary. I think it has the potential to be. He's, of all these players, maybe Elton Jenkins is right there with him. Those are the guys that I think really have a strong chance of taking a major jump. But Rashawn Gary, to me, is the one that not only could take it, but could really be just such a game-changing influencer on this Packers defense, which we know would be such a huge win for this Packers defense, who can use all the elite type of talent that they can get to help out this offense and kind of pull their weight on the other side of the ball. So those are my 5 guys: Elton Jenkins, MVS, A.J. Dillon, Darnell Savage, and Rashawn Gary. Will any of them get there? That's what's going to be fun to watch this season. My hope is that 1 or 2 of these guys do. Green Bay certainly needs them to. This is a draft and develop program, and they have a ton of talent with these 5 players. Now the goal is to get them to be playing at that elite level. That's going to do it for me today. Appreciate you joining me as always. Make sure to check out today's audio podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts. I'll be right back here tomorrow as always. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.